All right, it's working. Hey, Dr. Andy. Ugh, we've had so many glitches, but now we've got it settled. It's probably Erik. Erik, time out for you when I get over there. So, Dr. Andy, welcome back.
Thank you, Elisa.
I'm so happy to have you on again. And this time we're going to talk about something that is going to be presented also in your upcoming workshop, March 15th. Enneagrams. I looked into it, sounds fascinating. Would you like to go ahead and take the stage now and explain?
I will happily take the stage and explain. So let me tell you basically how we're going to use the Enneagram today. The Enneagram is many things, and ultimately it's a sacred symbol, like the Star of David, and there are many sacred symbols. And it's a symbol that is sort of like a way of understanding all of life. We're going to use, yes, it's
really?
a wow. Pretty much everything is built into the symbol.
Oh, just that, huh? Just that, just everything in life. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's like all sacred symbols. There's amazing information in them.
Wow.
And if you like, anyway, yes. Today we're going to use it for understanding ourselves and others from the inside out. It is the most simple, powerful framework I know for understanding ourselves and others without judging them. And many personality systems in American psychiatry and psychology sort of pathologize people. This does not.
Oh, pathologize, make him like something that needs to be fixed, something's wrong with them.
Yes, it's called it used to be called personality disorders.
Oh, hey, one question before we go on. Does this have anything to do with sacred geometry, the shape of the symbol that you're going to show?
It does. And it is a sacred geometry. What made you ask? Because I'm happy to.
Oh, I mean, I'm fascinated by that. And I think we had a session about sacred geometry. I can't remember what Erik said.
Yeah, well, the Enneagram is about three sacred geometries, actually. It's about the sacred geometry of 3, the sacred geometry of 7, and the sacred geometry of 9. And 3, 7, and 9 are interesting numbers in that of the integers, they are the only numbers that have infinite patterns. So the number 1/3 is 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3 forever, and then it's 6, 6, 6, 6, 6. 2/3 is 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, 6 forever, right? And 3/3 is 9, 9, 9, 9, 9 forever. So 3 is 3 forever, and the number 1/7 is 142857 forever. So it's 142857 forever and ever and ever. It's a universal pattern that repeats over and over and over again. And 9 is the number 111111 forever. So they're the three numbers. I can't quite hear you. So if you're there,
I'm not saying anything anyway. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can now.
Okay. I didn't really say anything except wow.
Okay,
the most common word in my vocabulary. Wow.
So if you think about it, right? If you think about, for example, the number 7, there's so many cycles that are 7, like the days of the week, or the, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. It cycles forever and ever and ever. Or do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti. Those are all 7s, right? 9, right? We have 9 is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you have a 0. You have a holder, which is the 10th. So you have these numbers that go on forever, and there's something very unusual about numbers that have infinite patterns, which is that they are like spirals that go on forever. And so they're, in one way, they're about the nature of how things evolve and how they devolve. And if you take the number 1/3 and you use it in all of its variations, you have the number 0.3 forever, 0.6 forever, and 0.9 forever. So you have 3 numbers that are built into 3. And if you take the number 17, it has 142857 forever. So if you put 3 and 7 together, you get all the integers, because you get 3, 6, and 9, and then you get 142857. So every integer is built into 3 and 7. So they are called the two sacred numbers of creation, building to a third number of creation called the Trinity. And we could talk about that for a long time, or why I said that in sacred symbols there is amazing information.
Isn't that pattern repeated in many aspects of nature, like the symmetry of the face, the 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 the
It's
length of
repeated.
the arms
Yes.
and legs compared to, I can't remember, and leaves and the veins.
Yes, there are patterns that go on infinitely in nature, and they are also built into these sacred geometries. And one of the ways you can know something has actually been alive, has been animate, is actually you can see these patterns in them. Whereas something that's inanimate, you can't exactly see the patterns in it in the same way. It's more of a kind of fractal. So, or at least that's my understanding of things. But that's not how we're going to use it today. How we're going to use it is to understand ourselves and others. And basically, what the Enneagram says is that each of us experiences life through one core lens. There's one core motivation that each of us has. There's one core way of paying attention. And it says there are 9 variations, and each of us is one of them. And we can't be more than one. Any more than a dog could be a cat, could be a horse. It says that each of us is like that. We're one structure, and that is how we perceive the world in the most fundamental way. And some people say that's like putting me in a box. What I'd say is you're already in the box. What it does is it reveals the box you're in and the box other people are in, so that instead of like not understanding yourself, because if you can understand the box you're in, then you can get out of the box you're in, which is the whole point. And if you understand the boxes other people are in, you won't go around judging them and saying, what kind of crazy fool are they? You'll say, oh my gosh, I really have an understanding of where their attention goes and what motivates them. So it is, from my point of view, the exact opposite of putting people in a box. It's allowing us to be free by gaining more awareness and understanding and compassion, which is
Like getting box cutters, your own personal spiritual box cutters.
Exactly. You're going to get your own spiritual box cutters, okay? So, and these stories are everywhere. So they're in Christian mysticism. They're called the 7 deadly sins and the 2 shock points, which is, so the mystical tradition of well, what's a sin? A sin is a blind spot. So it says that each of us has a blind spot, and the blind spot is what our personalities come out of. So you could say what we identify with is a way to avoid experiencing something we're afraid to experience. That's what our personalities are, which is an interesting way of understanding them. That doesn't make them bad, that makes them compulsive. So there's certain things that are predictable about us, and we'd say, like, I don't act like other people. If you do something, I'm likely to automatically act in that way, and it's because our automatic ways of being are a way of protecting ourselves from experiencing something we're afraid of. And if we could allow ourselves to experience what we're afraid of, we would be freer. And that's the beauty of the Enneagram. So having said that, it's in Christian mysticism. It's in Jewish mysticism in the Tree of Life, which has 10 stories, of which there are 9 stories essentially. And then the last one is the story that holds all of them. It's in Buddhist psychology, because Buddhist psychology, which a lot of this is based on, for sure, is 3 variations of 3 stories called the 3 centers, and 3 variations of 3 centers. It's in Sufism, because the Enneagram came out of the mystical traditions of Islam. It's everywhere. And it's even in American psychiatry, because American psychiatry says that there are 8 basically personality disorders. And the reason it only has 8 is the core personality disorder of our country, which is called the performer, it called type A personality with narcissistic features, whereas the rest of us, it's called hysterical personality or obsessive compulsive disorder or bipolar disorder or schizoid disorder. But what are those disorders? They're really just stories.
Yeah, blind spots that you want to avoid.
Right. So
you can have a collective, Enneagram for collective, like the United States?
yes, I think all self-organizing systems have core stories, just like we have core stories, but it doesn't mean that that's the only story. It means it's the predominant story.
Got it.
So there are predominant stories in all systems, right? That are the major stories. And just like we all have aspects to all aspects of human behavior and human motivation, but we live in sort of one of them. Countries are kind of like that too, although that gets us into a whole different place.
Yeah, this kind of,
So
really, communities are kind of like a living organism anyway, so yeah.
Exactly, just like we are. We're living organisms, and we're trying to get free so that we have access to all of life and not just a little box that we're stuck in without being aware of it. So I can show you what this thing looks like. So I'm going to hold it up and see if you can see it. And you'll see what the symbol looks like. Can you see that entirely?
No.
How
There,
about
there
now?
we go. That's perfect.
Okay, so I want to show people what this thing looks like, so you now have a picture of it.
And you guys can pause it at that point if you want to really examine it more closely.
Yes, and it's even color-coded for reasons that I'm going to explain.
Okay.
Because the easiest way to understand the Enneagram, I told you there are 9 stories, but really there are 3 variations of 3 stories. So the Enneagram says that there are 3 types of people and 3 variations within each type, all right?
Okay.
And basically the story is symbiosis, which is a synthesis, a thesis, and an antithesis, right? So what it says is there are 3 types of people. The first type of people we'll call belly people, okay? And those are points 8, 9, and 1. So the top of the circle is 9, and then you have points on either side. And so points 8, 9, and 1, it's like a clock, but with only 9 numbers on it. And there's a big gap at the bottom for reasons that you'll understand in a little while. 8, 9, and 1 are called belly people, all right? And belly people all share something in common.
A beer belly.
What?
A beer belly.
Not necessarily, because I have one of those and I'm not a belly person. So, and it doesn't come from beer in my case, but you know, what can I tell you? So they do not necessarily, although a lot of belly types do have beer bellies, but not all beer bellies are belly types. And not all belly types have beer bellies, so there you go. But yes, often belly types do have beer bellies, and I'm not going to go further with this. I'm going to leave that in peace.
Good.
But what they have in common is this. They basically say, I'm responsible, therefore I am. So they respond to something outside of themselves, okay? Or that's, I mean, basically we say, the word we use, responsible isn't bad, but we use, it's responsible, it's you respond to something, which means that your focus starts outside of yourself and then you take an action. That's what belly points do. So you sense something and then you take an action. That's a belly point. You start with something outside of yourself. The heart points basically say, I feel, therefore I am. So they start with a feeling in their heart, okay? And the head points basically say, I think, therefore I am, all right? So we have 3 basic core motivations: sensing something and taking an action, feeling, wanting to have a certain kind of feeling, or thinking. And 8, 9, and 1 are called the belly points. 2, 3, and 4 are called the heart points. And 5, 6, and 7 are called the head points. And we're going to look at them.
I'm sorry. Could you give me an example of the belly point? You know, like a real example, like that person would see what and make what decision?
Yes, I can. Let me tell you what the problem for a belly point is, and then you'll see.
Okay.
The problem for a belly point is called, there's a mental issue and there's an emotional issue, all right? And the mental issue for a belly point is called self-forgetting. And the emotional issue is called anger, all right?
Mm.
So self-forgetting means you don't know what you truly desire for yourself. Or as one of my colleagues said, who is one of these, she said, if you give me a menu, I can make it the best menu ever if there's something to respond to. But if you give me a blank page, I'm in trouble because there's nothing to respond to. Or there was an architect in our community, in the Enneagram community, who was the core of this, which I'll tell you about. He said, if you put me with somebody else, I know exactly what it is that they need, and I can build their house in a short period of time. I've been working on my bedroom for 14 years, and I still don't have a clue about what I want.
Oh, my God.
Okay?
Yeah.
That's an extreme version of a belly point, all right? So we have belly points, and they're called, like I said, they're called the points of self-forgetting and anger, okay? And then we're going to have the heart points, and the heart points are going to be called, in my understanding of it, they're going to be called image points, and the point that their mental issue is image, and their emotional issue is despair, okay? And then we have the head points, and their mental issue is called doubt, and their emotional issue is fear. Now, I'm going to tell you what I mean, so this will be clear, all right? So, if you're a belly point, we know that you're going to forget something about yourself, and you're going to have to figure out mostly what to do with your anger, all right? Now, what you're going to find is the central point of each of these centers, they identify with the mental issue and they dissociate the emotional issue. All right? So let me tell you what I mean by that. The central point of the belly points is 9. It's called a mediator, right? And what a mediator basically says is, I identify with forgetting myself and I dissociate anger. All right? What does that mean in real terms? I'll give you a silly but very powerful understanding. If I'm a 9 and you said to me, where do you want to go for lunch? I would probably, if I'm really stuck in my 9ness, what I would say is, I want to go wherever you want to go because if you're happy, I'm happy. So I forget my own desire. I become you, right?
Yeah.
And if I'm going to become you, I have to deny my anger, right? I can't be angry because then I won't be merged with you, and that's bad news. So as most 9s will not even know that they're angry until it builds up and builds up and builds up like a pressure cooker, at which point they might explode. But mostly they'd say, if you're happy, I'm happy.
And
Right.
eventually it's like, oh my God, I never get to pick where we get to go to eat. Is that what it is?
They wouldn't say that probably for a long time because
Yeah.
they would say, if you're happy, I'm happy.
Okay.
And they would say, no one ever asked me what I wanted or what I was feeling or who I was.
Wow.
So I learned how to get along. And how to get along as a mediator does is, you know everybody else's point of view, but you're the one who kind of holds the space, okay?
Right.
So it's anyone who sort of is in the background. I mean, if you like Ringo Starr, right? Hail fellow, well met, always happy, in the background, holding everything together, but never out front, right?
Right.
That would be an example of 9, all right? So what they lose is, their work is kind of, it's called acedia, it's called spiritual sloth. Spiritual sloth is one of the 7 deadly sins. It's called acedia. And sloth basically means, in this case, it means I don't know. I won't do an examination of what's in my heart. I will just become you. I will merge with you. You ever see the movie Zelig? It's something like Zelig gets around someone and he becomes them, right?
Oh. No, I don't
Well,
know that.
basically, I get my identity by becoming you. That's who I am. That's what a 9 says. You know, it's like, I am you. That's what a 9 says. That's why it's called the center of self-forgetting.
Right.
Now we have 2 sides of self-forgetting. One is going to externalize and one is going to internalize. So we'll start with the internalizers. And the internalizers here are called perfectionists. Point 1 is called a perfectionist. And what point 1 does, it's self-forgetting, it substitutes rules for desire. So if you ask a perfectionist what you want, a perfectionist is likely to say, what I want to do is the right thing, right?
Right.
So I live by shoulds. A perfectionist says, I should do better. I could improve. Perfectionists are always trying to improve and do better. And if you get a 98, you'll notice, I mean, if you're really a fixated perfectionist, you'll say, oh my God, if I had only studied harder, I would have gotten 100. Why? Because it's the right thing to do. If you're going to study, you should always do it perfectly. So everything is perfect, right? And it's about anything, right? So it's like, and there's a whole wide range of what's going on there. So it's everyone from Miss Manners, who says, like, Miss Manners says there's propriety. There's a right way to set the table. You better set it the right way. It's anyone who lives with shoulds. Or Gandhi, who says there's a right way to live your life. They're really telling, I think, Gandhi and Miss Manners are telling the same story, but in a sense they are, right? They're both saying there are ideals to live up to, and, then it's a question of how free you are and you're living up to it, right?
Right.
So it's anger turned on the self. Like you have this like righteous anger, and it leaks out into other people if they don't follow the rules. But if you're with any perfectionist, and if they don't do up to a standard that they think that they should be living up to, they're going to be self-critical, right? So there's a lot of guilt that goes with. And if you're a perfectionist, if you look back early in your life and you say, I lived by shoulds, I lived by rules, and everyone's supposed to live by the rules, whatever those rules are, then you're a perfectionist.
These are probably people who don't delegate well, right? I mean, they probably say, well, if you want something done right, you got to do it yourself. Is that kind of person?
They might, unless they think the right thing to do is to delegate.
Oh, okay.
Right? So if the rule is you're supposed to delegate, then you're going to have to be a good delegator, because then you have to learn how to do that perfectly.
Exactly.
So it may or may not be that you'll have a hard time delegating, but you probably will not have the easiest time delegating, because things have to be done perfectly. And perfection trumps everything. It trumps pragmatism. It trumps success. If you're a perfectionist, you're going to do it the right way, right?
Yeah.
And that's your gift, and that's your curse, because everybody's gift is their curse, right? If you say, in order to be loved, I have to be good, well, you're going to be a good person, and you'll find always that the thing that is your greatest gift is also your greatest limitation, which is an interesting thing.
Well,
all right?
Interesting.
So that's the internalization of anger and self-forgetting. Now let's look at the externalization of it, called the protector. It's point 8. And the protector is the externalization of anger and self-forgetting. So what does a protector do? A protector protects. And a protector is like the biggest energy, most competent person in the room. And the woman I'm coming down to Houston with, and who's going to teach Enneagram with me, she is a protector. And she taught me about protectors. She said, what we know that better than anybody else is hierarchy. That is Joni's word. She should be given credit for it, because no one has ever used, that I'm aware of, has used that word as what is central. So protectors know hierarchy. So they can say, hierarchically, I can sense what's going on in a situation, and pragmatically what needs to be done. And if I walk into the room, I can sense who has the power, and I will be pragmatic about it. So hierarchically, I will understand what to do. And protectors are unbelievably competent people. They are also called leaders in other, so it's everyone from, like, Martin Luther King is a protector, FDR is a protector, The Godfather is a protector. They're all basically telling the same story, which is, I'm going to take you on my back and I'm going to take you someplace, right? And that's what protectors do. And if they're protecting their own people, they will do it in the most profound ways, right?
So,
and
the belly people, okay, they all have this self-forgetting, but they're either internalizing their anger or externalizing their anger, but never both, right?
Or dissociating their anger.
Okay, so that you can never, they don't do, internalize sometimes and dissociate the other times. It's like you're either one or the other.
Right, you're one or the other primarily.
Primarily.
So And what they also do, why they're called belly points, is they can walk into a room and they sense something. Like if I'm a mediator, I can walk into a room and I can sense the degree of harmony or conflict, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if it's harmonious, I feel comfortable, right? And if there's conflict, I feel agitated. That's why they're belly people also, because you don't have to think about whether there's harmony. It's not an emotion, it's a felt sense, right?
What belly comes from. I'm getting it now. It's like a gut feeling.
It's a gut feeling. So if you're a perfectionist, you can walk into the room and you'll know if everything is in its proper order or if something's not. And if it is, you'll say, I can relax. And if it's not, you'll be agitated, right?
Right.
And if you're a protector, you'll walk into the room and you'll be able to sense hierarchically who has the power, who's in control, who isn't. You'll just sense it, right? Which is why they're also called belly people, because they sense through the belly. That's their primary perceptual mode, is to sense through the belly. Okay. So those are the belly people. And we're going to have time today. I'll just give a brief description. So now we're going to go to the heart people. And the heart people are points 2, 3, and 4. And they are run by something totally different, right? Which is they want to have a good feeling in their hearts. And the way they're going to have a good feeling in their hearts is if you approve of a heart person, they're going to have a good feeling in their heart, right? Because what they do not want to feel is despair. And if you do not approve of a heart person, they're going to feel despair. So they have to create an image, right, that you will respond to and that you will approve of. And then they're going to say, oh, you like me, like Sally Fields, who says, you love me for my performance, right?
You really love me. Yeah.
Right. That you love me because I put out an image, I performed something, and you responded to it, and I'm happy, right? That's a heart person.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, now, there are 3 variations of heart people, right? The middle one, called the performer. Remember I said there's an identification with the mental concern, and the mental concern here is called image. Mm-hmm. And there's a dissociation of the emotion, which is called despair. So let's start with number 3, which is the middle. I identify with my image. I'm a human doing. I create an image as a way not to ever experience despair. Now, let's think about a classic example of that for those of us who are old enough. Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton is a total performer, right? I create an image of a certain kind, and you respond to it, and I'm happy. And I would say, so there's like the sense of performance is both I'm putting on a kind of show, right? And I'm going to see how you respond to it. And then I'll be able to adjust in order to be successful.
Yeah, I mean, he had charisma, that's for sure.
Right. Well, yes, he has charisma, and most performers have charisma. And basically what I want to do is I'm always doing, and I'm doing in the service of performing, so I'll be successful, so I will get some kind of feedback. You will love me for what I do. That's what a performer says, right? So I have to create an image. So this is called dress for success, right? If you're a performer and you're a real performer of a certain kind, like your closet will look very interesting because like during the day you might have a lot of suits, but when you're with your motorcycle gang, you'll like dressed in leather. And like when you're with your, your swim team, you'll be like having the best swim team. I mean, you'll have a very big closet if you're a certain kind of performer, because you will create the image that will give you the best chance to get, you've done something right and you're successful at it. And then you're going to be, it's the high school quarterback that everybody goes, oh my God, he's the hero.
Good dog. Yeah, I got it.
Okay, that's the performer.
Right.
So, and their image is the generalized other. They're looking for the general other, not the specific other, general other, right?
Like Clinton, his constituents,
right. Or even when you look at the particular other, like Monica, he's not interested in Monica as Monica. It's what Monica represents, which is, you are, I'm like, she's like, it's not like he's interested in Monica per se. It's not like, what do I have to do to make Monica happy? It's that Monica's going like this, right? and she represents something. She is the representative of the constituents, right?
Right.
He's not interested specifically in Monica.
Interesting.
Right?
Good example.
Thank you. Now we're going to go to the externalizers of the heart points, and the externalizers are called givers, okay? And they're point 2. And basically what a giver says is, in order to be loved or approved of, I have to focus on the particular other, right? So it's like I'm looking at you and I'm saying, what do I have to do so that you will approve of me? And what I'm going to do to get you to approve of me is I'm going to take care of your needs so much, whatever they are, that you will, I believe, not be able to live without me. And then I will feel worthy and I will feel like I have my identity and life is good. So it's someone who says, you have needs, I don't, and my little secret is going to be that I need you to need me. But we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how you have needs, and I'm going to take care of you and take care of your needs, and I'm going to give to you, right? And I'm going to be pleasing to you. It's called the pleasing child. It's the child who says, I know how to please the particular other. That's the giver, right? And
it doesn't have to be just one other. It could be different others. But
well, yeah, it's whichever other you want. So like, I want you, and I'm going to get you, whoever you are. It might be different others in different circumstances, but if I want you, I'm going to get you. And I'm going to figure out what I have to become so that you're going to like want me, and then I'm going to be happy. That's what a giver will basically say. Now, that doesn't mean, then it's a question of how altruistic is the giving, because the more you can let your sense of worthiness not be based in a prideful stance, which is you need me, then you would be able to be free of that, right? And you could be with your own sense of unworthiness, and then you're still very good at giving. You just be freer at it because you won't be doing it in order to get something back.
There's no ulterior motive, selfish motive.
Right. It's called egocentric giving when it's fixated, right? Yeah. Because you're really giving in order to get something, which is a response, but it's a response that's going to make me feel good, right?
Right.
So that's a giver.
Ayn Rand's benevolent selfishness. I wonder what that is, if it's egocentric or not. Anyway, go down that rabbit hole. Go on.
Well, but it's anybody who basically is going to say, I'm going to find out what it is you need me to be, and I will become it, and I'll be pleasing to you so that I will take care of your needs, so I'll have a sense of feeling worthy, right?
Right.
That's what a giver does. And, there's a great gifts in that, which is I'm very good at taking care of people's needs.
Yeah.
And there's great limitations in that, which is that I'm very good at taking care of people's needs, but I don't even know that my own needs exist because I'm so other focused, right? So then you get very tired after, like, you said, like, well, if you want me to be a bookworm, I can be a bookworm. If you want me to be like, a Lothario, I'll be a Lothario. I'll be whatever you want me to be. You want me to take care of you, nurse you, I'll be a male nurse. I mean, whatever it's going to, not all nurses were men or twos are givers, but like, it's someone who says like, that's what I do in my life is I take care of needs. Okay. So the image comes from the particular other. And if I can get the particular other to approve of me and I please them, then I'm going to have a warm feeling in my heart.
You won't feel despair. You won't feel despair.
I won't feel despair. And if you reject me, I'm in big trouble, and I'll feel despair, or I'll want to like get very angry at you.
Is that like borderline personality? I mean, is that?
Anybody can be a borderline personality, although some are more likely than others. And heart points tend to be more likely, particularly the one I'm about to talk to you about, is more likely to be borderline personalities. But if you're bringing up in American psychiatry, twos are called hysterical personalities because they deny their own inner world and focus on the outer world and then somaticism. So borderline personalities tend to be what I am in this system called a romantic, which is point 4.
Oh, yeah, I remember you saying that, yeah.
And a romantic basically says, in order to be loved, I have to be special, right?
Yeah.
So how do I find what makes me special? I go inside, I find an image that is an authentic image of me, which is a funny concept, right? An authentic image. And then I present it to you and you better like it. Why I say it's an authentic image is there are certain things about me I will not want you to know because then you will not approve of me, right? So there's an image of authenticity, but it's not true authenticity when I'm in my fixation. So,
Well, it seems like it'd only be partial authentic because what you're giving is authentic, but the inauthenticity is not showing the rest of the image. Is that
right. I will not show you the rest of the image if I can help it.
okay?
But since I'm the internalization of despair, it kind of leaks through a fair amount, right? Particularly when I feel abandoned and rejected.
Okay.
That was the bell of mindfulness. I don't know if they can hear it, but we can all take a breath. And remember that we are learning and listening not only with our minds, but with our hearts and with our bellies. So thank you, whoever created that lovely chime.
Oh,
Right?
it was Miss V, Veronica Drake.
You're Veronica Drake. That's what happens when I talk so much I can't even talk anymore. But like, so fours are sort of like the ones who are looking for creativity and depth and sort of like Van Gogh or Van Gogh, if you're going to call
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Or a lot of the women artists who are wearing, black and singing songs of despair, but it's authentic, right? I mean, it's like, or me. I mean, or James Dean.
Oh yeah. Oh God, yeah.
Well, I mean, because what is a romantic saying? A romantic is saying, I have to know who I am. I mean, that's his movies. I have to know who I am, right? Who
Yeah.
am I authentically? But there are certain things we don't want you to see, so we'll just not reveal those things. So now we've been through a quick world of the belly points and the heart points, and why they're called heart points again is how am I going to process? Do you approve of me? Because if you do, I will have a warm feeling in my heart.
Yeah.
So a heart point will walk into a room and know how people are feeling about particularly them, right? But that's what they'll attune to. That's why they're called heart points. Okay. Now we're going to go across a great divide.
Oh,
A great
there's
divide between 4 and 5. And we're going to go over to the head points, which are points 5, 6, and 7, right? And in the books, they're called, the mental issue is called paranoia or doubt, and the emotional issue is called fear, right? So we're going to have 3 variations of doubt and fear. So we're going to start with 6, called the loyal skeptic, right? And what a skeptic does is they identify with their doubt in order not to feel an inner fear. That doesn't mean they don't feel an outer fear, but not an inner fear. The inner fear is I'm a nobody, so you're going to crush me, right? That's the inner fear. But then it gets projected out onto the world, and the world becomes dangerous in some way, shape, or form. So if you talk to a 6, they're going to say, a 6 is the kind of person who says, because I identify with my doubt, it says like, wait a second, yeah, what you say is true, but what about this? So 6 is a contrarian. If you say something, I have to see the other side. So it's a yes, but perspective, right? That's true, but what about this dangerous thing that you haven't taken thought into account because all you want to do is be successful, and you haven't noticed it as you're racing forward, you're about to hit a glass door that you haven't noticed because you're going so fast with blinders on that you have not seen the door is there at all, and you're going to kill yourself. So I have to watch out for you and for myself, basically, because the world is kind of a dangerous place.
Are these devil's advocates typically?
Totally. In another system, they're called devil's advocates.
Okay. Well, some people want to be devil's advocates because they want to be right and they want to control, and hey, I got something even more important that will bash your theory.
No, that's not it. They want to be secure.
Okay, got it.
It's not that they want to control. It's that they want to feel secure.
Got
So
it.
if you have a theory, I have to see all the potential holes in your theory, because if not, something bad is going to happen. So it looks like I'm bashing your theory, but I'm not really bashing your theory. I'm just trying to keep us safe and secure. But
Okay.
from the outside, it looks like you're just a negative ninny, right? For someone like you, who is not, by the way, one of those. And maybe when we get down to Houston, we'll find out where you belong, but maybe you'll tell us. But I don't think you belong there.
Okay.
But you have to understand the great gifts of this point of view, right? Because the great gifts are loyalty, right? There's safety in numbers. So if you're my friend, you're going to have a really loyal friend,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm going to be someone who can see between the lines. So you're a used car salesman. I'll say, really? Like, you haven't told me about da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And I'm noticing things that other people don't see. So a lot of great philosophers are sixes.
Wow, that sounds like my husband. Really interesting. Okay.
Well, then we can, even when we get down there and we start, if we ever come back again, once we know where we are, we'll do something on relationships. And it's amazing, because if you know people's Enneagram points and something I haven't even been able to describe to you, you can describe their relationship and they'd say, have you been in my house? Because you're able to articulate things about our relationship that now that you've said them, I say, yeah, that's true, but you wouldn't even have words for almost.
And that's pretty cool,
Because
because then you can help couples mend their relationship, right? Using that.
it improves relation. I will tell you, if you know, I have a hard time knowing how anybody does couples therapy if they don't know the Enneagram.
Wow.
Because it's like, say, oh, you can translate. Like if you think, right, that like your husband is being negative and trying to bash you, and I know what he's really trying to do is keep you safe and secure.
Oh, that he
And like I can,
he wants
what?
everyone to do the right thing and be not get into trouble and be safe. And his nickname is "I have spoken." That's his nickname. Huh.
Well, there are different kinds of people who have the structure of six, right? Because
Yeah.
when you're afraid and you're doubting, you can do three things and you can look very different. It's called fight, flight, or freeze, right?
Mm-hmm.
So people who are sixes have a very wide range of behavior, and I'll tell you why. If you're afraid of a mouse, right, and a mouse goes into a room and you're in the room, you have three choices. You can cower, right? I
Right.
can get away from it. You can jump on a chair and like get paralyzed, or you can bite its head off.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh,
You
yeah.
have three choices, but it's going to look very different if you bite its head off than if you cower away from it. But really, the motivation is the same,
Interesting.
right? So the behavior can look very, very different, but either way, you're going to start with frozen, and then you're going to either freeze more, go backwards, or go forwards.
Mm.
But you start with like, it's dangerous in here and we have to do something,
Yeah.
right? And I'll tell you where this really gets a little bit problematic is if you have 6 children in school, right? And some of them are very, very warm. That will take a while to describe. So when we get to Houston, we're going to talk more about this. But sixes can be very, very warm. And you have a lot of teachers who are who are givers or mediators. So if you're a giver and someone's warm, you move towards them. And
Wow.
really, a six is being warm towards you so that you'll back off. If you
Oh,
don't understand that, you'll say, oh, let me give you a hug. And then the 6 freezes and you say, what the heck's the matter with the 6? He was being so warm. So of course I wanted to make him happier. So I gave him a hug. Then he freezes and does worse in school. And you wonder why. And it's because you weren't reading the signals right. Because you didn't understand that the motivation for his warmth was, if I'm warm enough, maybe I'll be innocuous and you'll leave me alone. And
wow.
you'll give me space. So
Fascinating.
it is just amazing.
Oh my
All
God.
right.
So when you come to Houston, well, God, we'll talk about that in a minute. But one thing I do want to ask is, first of all, I think you said in one session that your Enneagram is different or can be different in each life. There's not some core Enneagram your higher self has, right?
I think that's a long story. I can only tell you, I can't, I'm not God, so I don't know, but I can tell you I do a lot of do a lot of my own healing work. And I will tell you, there have been lifetimes that I certainly have a different structure than the structure I have in this lifetime.
Okay.
That
Well,
is
that, feels,
for,
that feels right. Well, how do you come into this world with the decision to be a certain, Enneagram? Is it a spiritual contract? And it's like, I'm going to come in being a 6 this time. I mean, how does that work?
I think that's a simple question, but I don't think it's a simple answer, but I can tell you my sense. I think two things go on simultaneously. One is something is struck from the very beginning. There's like a template being struck that's like its own sacred geometry of evolution.
Okay.
But then I think given that, life happens and like we are in a co-creative process. So if we need something for our soul growth and the soul growth of the people around us, we can sort of like say, can we do variations? That's my sense about it. But
Well,
like,
yeah.
that's just my sense.
Yeah, whatever Enneagram would work to achieve the objectives of the human experience, that incarnation, I guess.
Yes, but I think two things are going on simultaneously, but I don't know. I think in the beginning, there's a sense of like what the likely path is going to be. But then there's a thing called free will, and then that kind of like can make it so that they vary some and say, I have to make some choices as I go along. So I think it's a both and proposition. And to be perfectly honest, I think I'll know, at some other lifetime far off in the future when my perspective is a lot bigger than it is now. So that's what I guess I can say. But let's go on because I want to make sure we get through all 9 points and I want to do it in a timely way. And we still have 2 more to go. So we now have the internalization, right, of doubt and fear, and that's called the observer. So if the world's a dangerous place, right, I can go backwards and I can say, all right, I'll just observe and analyze everything. And then it's like I build a wall around myself. And if I can build a wall around myself, you can't touch me, right?
Right.
So the fixated form of that is, I am a rock, I'm an island, a rock feels no pain, an island never cries. That is a 5 song. That is a song of an observer. So the great gifts of observers are they observe. Everybody else is going crazy, and the observer is just saying, I'm just sitting here analyzing everything. A lot of great scientists, it's like, if you see the movie Awakenings with Oliver Sacks.
Oh, yeah.
Totally a 5. He's starting off 9 years studying mitochondria. I want you to know only an observer would study mitochondria for, 9 years. I think I can say that. And I would say to you, you can almost never know anything from behavior because you're looking at motivation. But to say I'm going to be that scholarly on something that I'm going to understand everything about it, you're probably looking at an observer because they're going to sit there and say, I'm going to learn everything about it. And who is my clan is going to be those who have that special knowledge with me. And we'll have our little groups called the mitochondria group or something. I mean, I'm being silly, but I'm not, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no.
But what is his problem? His problem is to reach out. He falls in love with a nurse. And, now I know more about Oliver Sacks, so that's a more interesting story. But in the movie, he falls in love, and it takes him 9 years to ask her out for coffee. So he has his own awakening when he basically is able to reach out. Why? Because my resources are insufficient. An observer says there's a sense of insufficiency, so I have to be self-sufficient. I have to be mentally self-sufficient. I have to be, in terms of resources, self-sufficient, right? Why? Because I don't want to experience my sense of insufficiency, my mental insufficiency, my energetic insufficiency. So there's the great gift is I can observe, and the great challenge is I can observe, right?
Right.
That's 5.
Despair is the thing with the heart. What is the one with the think of the head person?
Fear.
Fear. That's right. Okay. Doubt, fear. Okay, got it.
Fear because you see, all head people, what they're lacking is a body, right? They have a fear, I'm no body. And if you're no body, you're cut off right there, then the world gets to be dangerous because it's going to demand too much, give too little, hurt you, trap you, do something to you, and going to try to take your limited resources and use them, right?
Right.
And that's what every head person, that's where their fear comes. Fear comes from the sense of, I don't have enough energy. And it may look like I have a lot of energy with the point we're about to get to, which is the externalization, which we're going to talk about in a second, because we haven't talked about the externalization of fear and doubt, right? Which is called point 7, which is called either the epicure or the adventurer, right?
Right.
So an epicure or an adventurer is someone who says, like, look at all the amazing possibilities. Life is one big happy adventure after another, and I want to have all the pleasant experiences I can, right? And I want to have all the mental pleasant experiences I can. So I see how everything is connected. And I see, so it's a lot of people who brainstorm, a lot of entrepreneurs, they're 7s, and they say, oh my God, look at this and look at this possibility and look at this possibility. Now, they're very good at starting out when things are exciting, but it's sort of like, it's like the beginning is exciting, but then it gets a little boring. And like boring and death are sort of like equivalents. And it feels like I'm trapped. So a lot of 7s, their problem is they start up a lot of projects, but they have a lot of problems with continuing and committing and going all the way because, like, really? Like, I have to, count the paper clips or whatever it's going to be. It's like, I'd rather, whatever, right? So what you don't want to do if you're an epicure or an adventurer is have unpleasant experiences that equals pain, boredom, anything. So a lot of 7 parents, what they'll do is if their child is in pain, they will say, I can figure out a way out of this pain, right? Let's brainstorm all the possible solutions to how you can get out of this stupid situation. Now, if I'm a heart point, particularly a 4, for example, and I want you just to listen to my pain, we're going to have a lot of trouble because you're going to say, you're a bad kid. Why would you get out of this? Why would you want to do it? Because I want to have my deep feelings and I want you just to understand me. And the 7 is saying, oh, God. So, I mean, that's what happens between a lot of 7 parents and 4 children. And it's the opposite in the other direction. I'm just giving you an example. So, the externalization. So it's like, it's like gluttony. It's the sin is called gluttony. It's like if a little is good, a lot more is better. And I want to take, gluttony is really about taking pleasure in pleasure for its own sake. Right. That's what gluttony is. Right. It's pleasant. I'll have more pleasure. And why would anyone have any pain? Right. So it says, I'm going to try not to experience a whole lot of living because why would anyone want to do that? And it's because, well, why would anyone want to have authentic feelings? I mean, it's like that. So we have now just taken a very, very quick journey through the Enneagram. And if you can remember this, right? 9 stories, 3 variations of 3 stories, right? You have the belly center, that the belly center is the one who senses something, harmony, perfection, or power, right? So they perceive through their belly, and what they do is they respond to something outside themselves, and they forget their own, what they truly desire, right? That's the belly center. Then you have the heart center. We call those, right, image despair points. And we have 3 variations of what kind of image am I going to present to you? Is it to the general other, that I'm a performer?
Right.
Is it to a particular other, that I'm a giver? Is it I go inside and find an authentic image and present it to you and you better like it? Now I'm a romantic, right? But you can see but it's all variations of the same thing.
Right.
The energetics are very different, which we will talk about, when we get to Houston, because we'll have a lot more time.
Well, it's really fascinating because I think that everybody should have their Enneagram done. I mean, can you imagine parenting my 5 children would have been completely different if I knew my Enneagram and each of theirs. Same thing with relationships, marital relationships, friend-to-friend relationships, intra-family relationships. So, and in Houston, I hope you're going to give us some tips on what to do with the knowledge to get out of the box.
I will do that. I will give you tips, but in order for me to really take you through it, we would have to do more time because we only have 1 day to do the Enneagram because we're going to do healing for 2 days. But I would say, in my humble opinion, if everybody in the world knew the Enneagram, and really understood it. So you're not using it for a party game, but said, I really want to like explore my own spirituality and the things that I'm afraid to experience, and really said, I want to understand you and not judge you. The world would be an infinitely better place
Oh
if
my
everyone
gosh,
really
the
knew
amount of
and understood it.
empathy for oneself and others would be amazing. So I'm so excited. I'm going to post a link to the Enneagram and to the event
Right.
when I publish this. Anything else you want to share, Andy? And
Yes.
I'll put your website and all that kind of good stuff.
Two
Uh,
things. Before I come to Houston, for those of you who are ever seeing this, we're going to do, theoretically, all things working out, I'm going to do 2 demonstrations. One of which is all set for March 5th, but the other one we're going to do on March 11th. If you want to be a demonstration subject, March 11th is available to you, and I'm going to do one with someone in the community. But what you need to do is you need to send me an email saying, all you need to do is say, I want to be your demonstration subject, because unfortunately we couldn't figure out how to reach people, which was too bad, but it is what it is.
yeah.
So we're going to do better next time, and we're going to figure all this out, because it's called You Live and Learn. So if you send something to info@lifecenteredtherapy.com and you say, I would like to do a demonstration with you on March 11th, we will muscle test the person, and we will pick somebody, and we will ask that it'll be for their highest good, for this community's highest good, and for life's highest good. And then if you come to Houston, on the 15th, 16th, and 17th, we will teach you how to do a simple but very powerful version of what we're going to do for healing anyway. So by the end of, if you come for all 3 days, you will know the Enneagram, you will know how to go more deeply into your spirituality, and we will teach you how to do your own healing work for yourself and for the people around you in very simple and powerful ways. And that's what I have to say. So if you do want to do a demonstration with me on March 11th, please send an email, and we will pick someone, and I will so look forward to it. And I will look forward, hopefully, to doing one on March 5th that has already been set up.
And you guys, I'll put, of course, the information where you can reserve your spot for Houston. The space is going to be limited, so you guys strike while the iron's hot. And oh, Andy, your performance was wonderful. You're so special. You're so brilliant. I'm kidding. Oh, no, you are, of course.
Well, thank you so much. Yes, but the special got me, I have to say. I keep working on special because,
you are special.
Well, we're all special, but the point is, I don't want special to be like why I do this. I want to do it. I mean, we all have our work to do, right? And
of course.
Here's the key for me. I keep working on why I work on I'm ordinary, or that there's something wrong with me. Because if I could do that enough, then I'm not doing it in order to get an egocentric hit that everybody's going like this and saying, you're special, or I approve of you, or I connect with you. Because if I'm doing it for that, then I'm not doing it just to be here with you. And I will tell you, and I can cry about it, that is like climbing up a mountain, because you get higher and higher and higher, and you keep realizing, that you still have work to do, because these core fears, they take a lot of work. They're not simple. We could spend.
It takes a lot of courage to work on them.
It does. It's the most important and most difficult thing in some ways.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Andy. And I will talk to you soon. And I will also see you in March at my place.
I'm so looking forward to it. Thank you so much, Elisa.
You bet. Bye.